Hi, everyone. I'm John Sullivan with 401k Specialist, and I am extremely excited to kick off the Excel 401k 2020 digital series, an online content resource all about your 401k business. The fact that the Excel 401k team was able to pivot so quickly to put it together is really incredible, and we want to thank them for allowing us to be a part of it. Today's topic is very timely and in keeping with the digital theme, and it is 3 digital drivers of employee engagement, education, and engagement success. Our panelists are all top advisor by participant outcome nominees, or TAPOs as we call them, and they'll share their best practices. They certainly need no introduction, but I'm going to do so anyway. So joining me today is the one and only Jania Stout with Fiduciary Plan Advisors, Tom Brown with Blue Water Capital Management, and last but not least, Jonathan Schulteis with Gate City Advisors. We're also joined by Kylie Donahue with J.P. Morgan Asset Management, and we're very proud to partner with J.P. Morgan Asset Management on the TAPO program. They're doing some amazing things in the area of participant outcomes, and you'll hear more about that on Wednesday as well as on Friday when we announce and celebrate the overall 2020 TAPO recipient. So we have limited time, and I want to dive right into the questions. And Jania, I'm going to start with you. Advisors pride themselves on the quality of their client meetings, but there is now officially a gazillion% increase in the use of Zoom, official statistic, by the way, which has leveled the playing field, and it makes it that much harder to stand out. So how do you create and maintain that digital wow factor with clients, Jania?
Yeah, well, John, I think, when this first hit with the pandemic, we were all really busy just trying to help our clients navigate whether, it was the CARES Act or whatever it was, working through this new norm. But then, there was Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, but what we recognized was this was a great opportunity to highlight the education that we do. So we had always done virtual, we did in person, but we also did virtual advice, we call them virtual advice days. So this just kind of catapulted that up to the surface, and that's all we did. So we did over 400, I think to date we're up to about 600 one-on-ones that we've done. But we also found how do we get participants to sign up for that one-on-one? So we created a couple different videos. We actually just came out with 2 new ones just last week, but the one that really helped was we create an invite to that virtual advice day, and there's a video embedded in it. And I actually did it at home, right next to my fireplace, because it was still cold out when I made them. I think it was back in like March or April. And really, we just kind of walked through, why would you sign up for a one-on-one? And what are the things that you're going to get out of this consultation? So we saw a huge uptake in the number of people that were signing up for it because we used kind of that video and communication. And then, of course, we did Zoom meetings with those one-on-ones as well.
Of course, yeah. Tom?
Yeah, I think the, when you're, our goal is to be very flexible, have one-on-ones obviously on site, but as Jania said, we were always doing kind of virtual meetings. We actually used to call them WebExes. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but always gave a participant that option. So really when, we've been integrating this, I would say, for probably the past 5 years. And obviously we had this kind of dormant technology really waiting for continuing to do what we do best, obviously doing one-on-ones and client engagement. So I think really what was important during this transition was to remain very, very consistent. So our model really didn't change much. And when you look at the engagement prior to versus during, I would say, this kind of COVID era, really nothing's changed, maybe a slight uptick in the amount of participants meeting because, you might have missed the office one day, but you can't really make a huge excuse, when you're home at 10 a.m. To meet for your 401k. So I think partnering with plan sponsors, HR, again, we've always been digitally hitting them prior to a one-on-one date. And I think that we've just remained very, very consistent with that, and it's shown in our engagement rate.
So you were well positioned for what's happening, is what you're saying.
Yep. Technology has been a huge focus, I think, for the past. I mean, it's 2020, right? So we've had this technology available the whole time. So I think, you know, as a 401k fiduciary, you really have to be ready anyway, physically, digitally, whatever it happens to be. But yeah, so when you had to turn the switch on to go fully digital, it was a very, very easy transition.
Understood. Jonathan.
You know, I'd say we probably use a combination of new technology and also being a little old school as well. You know, it's kind of moved away from the in-person meetings, but we've gone to using a lot of video. And with our videos, we use tools that allow us to embed a call to action, right? So a call to action might be, hey, if you're interested in this, then click the link below. And we use schedule once to be able to allow participants to schedule meetings directly on our calendar. And so we'll shoot a video around a concept or around a basic education piece and then allow them to schedule a meeting with us. But also for a lot of the groups that we have that happen to be a little bit more, let's say, blue collar, and they're not sitting in front of a computer every day, all day long. We've actually gone to where we would normally do a sign up and meet with them in, say, the break room or a conference room. We would do a sign up and they would sign up and put their phone number on the sheet, right? And so instead of being in a break room, we would be able to social distance and we would sit in our office and just physically pick up the phone and call them.
Right.
So just use the old school technology too that worked very well.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but not everybody is, there's that digital divide that we always hear so much about that still exists. So absolutely.
For sure.
I will
Kylie,
say,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I will say too, you know, some kind of tips just for meeting. You know, I don't think we've done quite 600, but we have done a couple hundred one-on-one Zoom meetings, and some kind of tips that have been, I think, successful for us. I know we can't do it on this platform, but I think that the digital background with your company's logo is really important. I've got nothing but positive feedback there. And I think that helps with keeping the participant focused on what we're talking about. And also having, you know, several kind of monitors at your disposal is also very helpful. As you start to get in depth with a client meeting, you know, you may be pulling up outside assets and using different programs. So it's important. And these are simple things, but have made a huge difference in being efficient when you're doing a digital meeting.
Understood. Kylie Donahue, I want to bring you in here for the provider perspective and some of the advisors that you work with. What are you seeing from them?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we just heard about. I would say that one of the things I wanted to do today is just reach out to the record keeping side of the house at J.P. Morgan, just to get their perspective on what's been working well with the plan sponsors. And, you know, the biggest thing that I heard is that when they do their client reviews with their advisor or partner, that in the beginning, there was a lot of little mistakes. You know, they didn't confirm what type of technology the plan sponsor had. And so there was a lot of hiccups. And so now everyone knows, hey, let's find out what they are able to access via their company. Can they access Zoom? Is it WebEx and so forth? So that's really made the transition in the meetings a lot more effective from that standpoint. And then I also talked to the retirement education consultants to see what has been working for them. And they said in the very beginning, they were using WebEx. They were just doing, you know, the typical presentation, and that plan participants, you know, they really weren't very engaged at all. And once they did make the move over to Zoom, where they get to see them, they also have the slides and they have the chat feature available, that now 85% of all of the engagement is actually coming through the chat feature. And that's where most of the questions come from. So it was just a few things. And so now they feel like it's working a lot more smoothly, and they've been a lot more impactful because they've had a lot more meetings. They can do a lot more meetings virtually than they can do in person.
I actually had a kind of a question too. Given, you know, typically we'll do a group meeting once in a while with our plan sponsors. Has anyone done a group meeting, I think, with participants or with sponsors, and how has that worked?
We actually did. Matter of fact, we just recently brought on a new client. The whole sales process was done electronically through Zoom and those kinds of things. And so when we transitioned, taking over the plan, we had to introduce ourselves and our services to all of the participants. And fortunately, this was an IT company, so it was totally up their alley. But we did a Zoom call and basically put together a PowerPoint presentation. It was like, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we can help you with. And I'll say the response was amazing. We had a lot of folks that wanted to schedule follow-up meetings. We had folks where we actually got on Zoom and walked them through getting enrolled in the plan. So in my opinion, it worked probably better, at least as good as being in person.
Excellent. Cool. Great. Moving on then. How have the reporting metrics that you provide to your plan sponsors about participant engagement and success, how have they changed in this remote digital environment? And is it harder, easier, no change in terms of what you deliver?
So, I mean, we're very similar in the sense that we've always done reporting. We're just now reporting more data.
Right.
So so this is, to us, it's super important because I think as advisors, we know that many of us work super hard to take care of our clients. I've always said this, the more you take care of your clients' employees, the harder it is to ever get you replaced. So,
right.
But you got to tell them all the stuff you did. So we have 4 people on the team that are participant success advisors. That's their title. And that's all they do is one-on-one meetings. And they also do some group meetings, and we're starting a podcast. So they're kind of engaged with all of that. But we do a one-pager. Let's say we do a virtual advice series. So we have a client that maybe we'll pick 3 or 4 days where we'll do virtual advice. We actually have a financial assessment tool that the participants sign. They get a link and they have to answer all these questions. It's only like 8 or 10 questions. And then at the end, we use Calendly to set up the one-on-one meeting. I've tried a bunch of different ones. I'm always looking. None of them are perfect.
Yeah.
If I start another company, it would be a technology company that could do a good scheduling. But if you have multiple advisors, anyway, that's probably another comment for another time. But so what's cool about that, the assessment tool, is when we go into the one-on-one with that participant, we already have a bunch of data about them. So our process, we actually pull up their account prior to that meeting so that we hit the ground running right when we're engaged with that participant.
Right.
And then track it. We use Salesforce. We have a custom CRM built to track the interactions. And each client that we go through, we have goals for the year. We call it an education strategy meeting every year.
Yeah.
And it ties into maybe those 3 goals. So we do 18 webinars a year. We used to do 12. We added 6 more middle of last year, which are really more health related and mental health related. So we do stuff beyond just saving for retirement. But anyway, so it's super important that we report back to our clients all the interactions, and they're amazed. Like, they can't believe how much, because we track who was on our webinar for the quarter, how many one-on-ones did we have, what action did they take that tie back to the goals, and then we also post the next 3 webinars that are coming up, because we can see a direct correlation of the clients that send out our invites to the webinars to who signs up.
Sure.
Because we have 130, 140 clients. I know for sure they don't all send it out every month. So, but I can tell just by seeing who attends, who sent it out. Because we usually get at least one person from every company. But we usually have 100 people on our webinars.
That's great. What was the
Jamie,
scheduling tool you mentioned?
What was that?
What was the scheduling tool that you mentioned?
Calendly. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that
That's
right,
right.
but Yeah.
That's the one.
Hey, Jenny, I want to ask you a question about your financial assessment tool. Is that a tool that you guys developed, or are you using like eMoney has a similar tool like that, or is this proprietary to you guys?
No, well, we do use eMoney also, but not as the assessment tool. That's used for, like, yes, last week I had a one-on-one, and if we think there's a need, we'll push them to eMoney, because it's just so robust that not every participant needs it. But
For sure.
no, we use a third party's assessment tool.
Taking it, I think, a kind of a little bit of different of an approach, just in terms of planned sponsor meetings, and maybe you guys can echo this too, but I found it difficult to actually meet with sponsors, participants, and obviously a sponsor is a participant, but sponsors right now have been relatively challenging to meet with, because they're typically an executive working on pivoting their business. So what I found is that they've more or less haven't really cared with what the metrics are. So Blue Water by nature is a registered investment advisory firm, and oftentimes we're reporting specifically performance numbers related to the investments in a plan to a plan sponsor. Well, that's just really not on their minds right now. So
the CFO doesn't care, huh?
Not really. We actually met with the CFO last week. They did care. They cared about their account. So right now it's really that kind of one-on-one. And when you're reporting those metrics, you can see it. We don't implement kind of the goal based 3 goals a year thing, but you can certainly see it in the amount of people that sign up to do a one-on-one appointment. When you're getting a 90% engagement, that's a lot of the employees.
Right.
That again, you're seeing a big uptick in just because of what's going on in the markets, and people are very concerned with their investments right now. But in terms of reporting to a plan sponsor, I would say that it's been a little more challenging. Certainly to bend their ear just to talk about plan specifics.
Understood. Kylie, I want to bring you in there.
Yeah, I mean, from a provider standpoint, I mean, really, it's probably become a little bit easier to push out reporting metrics. We just have a little bit more data to share, and some CARES Act related items to share with the plan sponsors. But there really hasn't been any major change, just more that we can share.
Understood. Jonathan, I don't want to leave you to last, but I did, so go ahead.
So I feel like, it really depends on the client. And a lot of our clients have really been paternalistic. And so they really care about their participants in the crazy volatility that we've had. So we've actually, I guess, maybe experienced a kind of the opposite of what Thomas was talking about. They're very interested to know, what kind of concerns are we hearing from participants, and how are participants feeling? And I would say a lot of the clients that we engage with in the committee meetings have been very creative in going, hey, what do you think about doing a webinar on this topic or that topic? They've actually suggested ideas to us on investment ideas and different things, which is kind of interesting that we see a lot of plan sponsors that are very interested in that, but yet we thought we would see a lot more engagement and interaction from participants. Mm-hmm. But I would say because of this, the crazy volatility was so fast, and it was so quick by the time that participants were starting to react to it, we had seen pretty much, a lot of the market has recovered. And so I found it funny that the plan sponsors were saying we should talk to them about investments and we should do topics about investments, but participants weren't really asking a lot of investment questions. So it was kind of interesting.
But
John, I would agree with you on that, because I thought people would be on these calls would be freaking out about the stock market. None of them were asking about it. It was crazy, that reaction.
That's the same thing that we saw. Yeah,
it's because you've done your jobs well.
Maybe so, but it's funny that the plan sponsors were all like, "Oh my gosh, we got to be out in front of this. We got to be doing. Maybe we should do a webinar on market volatility." And so plan sponsors were pushing that, but participants were pretty much like, "Oh yeah, I knew it was going to come back," or "Oh yeah, it's come back and I'm good." So we just there was a disconnect between what the sponsor thought the participant wanted and what participants were actually interested in. I found that very interesting.
So what cool new must-have technology have you come across? And Kylie, I'd like you to start with this one just because you talk to so many advisors. What has really impressed you with some of the advisors that you've been dealing with and the technology solutions that they're using?
I mean, just some of the neat things that I've seen advisors do is whether they're leveraging us or somebody else, they'll frequently leverage our market insights team or our retirement insights teams. I've seen quite a few of them set up a time to actually do a podcast, and then they post it out on their website, which I think that's kind of neat. I think Zoom, everybody knows about that, but it's been amazing. It's just some people are so excellent at it, and they seem to have no hiccups. So I've been pretty impressed with some of the usage there, and I've just seen a lot more brain sharks. And one of the things that Johnny mentioned is the fact that you use something like Time Trade, or I can't remember the version you use, but it's so helpful and easy to be able to schedule that one-on-one meeting by having somebody just click right on your email or however you sent it out. So it's just
I'm going to toss it out to the rest of you as well, but that's a very good point. I'd like you all to answer is, right now, should you have a podcast? Should everybody have a podcast at this point? It seems like everybody does, but should you if you don't? Tom, why don't you go?
Yeah, I think obviously there's an explosion in podcasts, and it will, I think, be difficult to differentiate initially. You're going to see a lot of new entrants to podcasting and financial advising. I think it's great though, and a great start would be your current client base, right? So we're a step behind in that respect. So we don't have any ambitions at the moment to do a podcast, but we've really kind of enhanced our digital marketing newsletter, talking about different topics, planning, really starting to segment our client base in who we're targeting with a particular blog or newsletter. Podcast is just kind of that next medium of multimedia. And I think it's something that as your business grows is certainly something to consider. And if you can't maybe do a full-blown podcast right now, certainly getting involved with interviews, whether it be on the radio or dovetailing, yourself off of someone else's podcast. Getting involved with that, I think, is a great start. But I think it's where things are certainly going. So you've got to have a kind of a game plan, I think, to implement that to your practice.
Jonathan?
I love that concept. And like Thomas was saying, I do think it's a crowded space right now, but I love the concept. I think if your idea is to start a podcast for participants, I think it's great, especially if you've got a large enough participant base. I think it's great. It's a lot of work to do. And it's, if you're getting out and thinking of it as this is a business development tool, I don't know if that's the right idea, just because the space, I think, is starting to be so crowded. But I love the concept. I do. But I don't really see any intention right now of me starting one. But I love the idea for sure.
So, Jania, I know that you're all over this. So why don't you talk about it? That's why I saved you for last.
Yeah. So the one thing that I would share too is we all are. I know everyone's busy, and probably listening are like, "Are you kidding me? Like a podcast? Like there's only so many hours in a day."
Yeah.
But let me kind of walk you through where we got to this. So we started off doing 12 webinars a year. We've been doing that for over 10 years. It's like a well-oiled machine. Like it's a lot of work, but we do it. It's the third Wednesday of every month. We publish the calendar a year or 3 months before the beginning of the next year. Then we increased to 18 webinars, because it really, when we survey our clients, it's the number one thing that they really, really like. But so what happened during quarantine, I started getting questions from my oldest daughter, who is a senior, or what's called a firstie at West Point. And they, what happens at West Point, they give you a loan when you're after your junior year. It's an interest-free loan. It's called a Cal loan. And so all these cadets were like wanting to invest their money because they got this Cal loan. So I started getting questions from parents. My daughter plays on the lacrosse team there, that asked me if I could do like an education for the cadets on like what the stock market is, right? And then I started kind of bringing this up at committee meetings to our committee members, saying, hey, you know, kids are at home, like young adults are at home right now. Would this be of interest? And everybody was super excited. So we had our first one we did a few months ago. We called it a family affair, and we talked about financial literacy for the younger adults, older children. So our target age market was really high school and early, like, and college age, or maybe even like right when they enter the workforce. We had 120 kids on this webinar. It was pretty cool. One of my clients had his whole daughter's school log in, and the teacher like helped facilitate it. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
But from that, we decided to, the reason why we're moving into podcasts is I'm hiring younger people into our team, and I want to get them excited about something. Because like in our business, it's very flat, right? So we have 13 employees, but like it's a pretty flat organization. And so how do you keep the young ones excited about being in this business? So technology is one way we do it. And so Catherine and Keith, they're 26 and 24 or 23. They're young. So I thought, who better to do a financial literacy? They're going to call it, it's called the Financial Times. So instead of financial, and it's geared towards that younger adults. And so anyway, that's why we're doing it. But they're excited about it. It gives them something to really focus on. And it's just an additional value add. And our clients are super, you know, pumped up about like helping their employees, because if you think about it, we got to help like the whole system of the family, right? Like we can't just help the mom or the dad or the single, you know, we got to help everybody to really raise awareness. So our focus really is that older children, not like the elementary school age, which I know there's a big passion for people to help them as well. But for us, it's more that older children.
I do want to point to our poll question, which is up now. And how much has the COVID crisis forced you to change the way you deliver participant education? And that is for our viewers to chime in. They would be really interested to see the results of that poll question. So the last question that I want to get to is to tell us one thing that the other panelists and attendees would be surprised to learn about your business that we would not know. And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily technology related, but just something fun. So Jonathan, why don't we start with you?
Oh my gosh, something that would be exciting and fun for you to know about my business. Holy cow.
Best-selling author.
That's well, I'd like to say best-selling author, but yeah. So I have a couple of books that I've written. I'd say one of the biggest things that I'm trying to work on right now, and it kind of relates to the panel and the conversation about technology, but really using like a Kajabi, which is a software tool that is really based for education. And we're taking the concepts from my book that I wrote for participants and really building out things through Kajabi so participants can go and watch videos and interact and engage with those folks. I'd say probably the thing that makes me different, I feel like I'm a financial advisor, but I'm a tech nerd too, trying to figure out how all these websites work. I mean, I've built 3 websites on my own, so it's like, I don't know, I just get excited about that kind of silly stuff. But so yeah, that's probably what's different about me.
That's excellent. Kylie, we know a lot about J.P. Morgan Asset Management. So if you want to just say something about yourself or the firm, completely up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is just, I've been in the DC space for over 20 years and record keeping, DCIO management. I think for the panelists, they might be surprised to know that I worked at a very large DC shop for a little over 2 years. So I have a lot of, experience really, walking in your shoes.
That's great. Tom?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Blue Water is a registered investment advisory firm that originally was focused on investment management, and we kind of branched out in a couple directions. One, doing third-party asset management. So an advisor can use us to design their investments and their model portfolios for their clients. And then we branched out into the retirement plan space. And then what I've done, which I think is a little unique, and I'm not sure many people do it in the industry, is essentially what I would term third-party 401k management. So we actually have regional advisors that contact us to set up, design their 401k like a traditional fiduciary might. But what we do as well is actually provide advisors with the whole process. Right, so the questionnaires, and we meet with the participants as well, helping them to kind of convert business. And it's a really kind of hands-off, not just for the plan sponsor, but for an advisor who, let's say, isn't really focused on this field, has a couple of plans, has a couple of great relationships, sees the opportunity, but doesn't want to be an expert in the field. So third-party 401k management is kind of a new, I think, industry, and we've been very successful in not only establishing plans, but generating quite a bit of outside, assets from that.
Understood. And you're a Syracuse fan, but I don't hold that against you. So we started with Janya. We're going to end with Janya. So tell us something we don't know at this point. You're everywhere. I don't know what we would not know, but please go ahead.
That's a tough one. Well, I'll tell you, I'm huge on hiring young people right now. So I think if you look at our team structure, I love everyone on our team. We have a lot of senior people, but in the last 5 years, I think the first time I got asked the question in the sales finals, what was my succession plan? And it hit me that I don't look 22 anymore. I'm like, what's going on here? Why are they asking me what my succession plan is? So I kind of recognized that maybe we should hire some young folks, but I was nervous because I thought, we're big ERISA geeks. We know compliance and plan consulting, all of that. I mean, we're investment advisors first, but we're really more on the ERISA side. But I have been just blown away with how awesome these young folks are. And Catherine on our team, she played women's lacrosse at University of Maryland, won the national championship, went out and found her. So I went to the coach and was like, do you know anyone that's looking for a job? She was pre-med, she was never took a finance class, and she'll have her CFP by March is what she's hoping. So I just would say what you don't know is probably, I'm all about hiring that next generation. And then lastly, I do want to share with you guys and gals some great technology. And Jonathan, you might like this. So we're in beta right now it's not ours, but one thing we do is on Monday mornings for our team Zoom call, Catherine and Keith have to bring some new technology to the team meeting. And if you guys, Zoom is awesome and we're going to use it for many, many years, but there's some cooler technology than Zoom out there. And so I encourage everyone to just Google FinTech. There's FinTech Awards. That's where I steered Catherine and Keith to look. But we're using this new technology called It's MHHMM. So it's very hard to say. It's like but it's so cool. Like you float in the screen, you can get bigger and smaller, and you can have your presentation there. You can point at it. So definitely, you know, I kind of contemplated, I was like, do I share that like secret sauce that we're working on? But I'm all about helping everybody, so I can't keep it a secret. Totally
check
look
that
into
out.
that. But if you don't find that, I mean, just look at fintechs are coming out with all kinds of stuff. So don't stop at Zoom. There's so
Constantly
much
changing.
more we could do, and I think we're going to have to do it. It's exciting right now. So that's my little tidbit. Yeah.
This has been fantastic. We are over on time. We do have a number of questions here, but I think that what I'm going to do is go ahead and send those around just so we can keep to the format. So Ryan, John, Kathy, Derek, we'll try and get those questions that you have here answered and back to you. But this has been fantastic, guys. This is exactly what we were looking for. So thank you so much for making time. I knew that when we had the TAPOs on here, it was going to be something fantastic and something really special, and you definitely came through. So thank you for that. Kylie, thank you so much for the product provider perspective. Appreciate that as well. And we will see you here soon on Friday for the announcement of the overall 2020 TAPO recipients. So definitely looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye now.